FCSN, welcome to Fantasy Zone, where you're going to get the best performances for fantasy football and the worst ones. Alright, let's get into it with the best quarterbacks of week 3. Andrew Luck, 370 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, and 31 fantasy points. Passer rating of 140.4, completion percentage of 79, but he played the Jacksonville Jaguars, where he just tore him up. The next game plays against the Titans, which are not the Jags. They held opposing quarterbacks relatively in check. The next quarterback that had a great fantasy performance was Kirk Cousins. 427 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and 27 fantasy points. He looked really good Sunday, helped by Philly's bad defense, but if he continues to play like he did last Sunday, he can put up big numbers. He has a short week and he plays the New York Giants on Thursday Night Football. The next person that we had a great game was Nick Foles. 325 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, and 26 points. Philly-Washington was a shootout, so that helped big numbers for Nick Foles. Best game of Foles season, and he continues to be a solid fantasy quarterback. Next game, San Francisco. 49ers gave up a good amount of points to Drew Stanton and Jay Cutler. Foles should produce. Now we're going on to the best running backs of week 3. Beast mode, Marshawn Lynch. 88 rushing yards, 1 touchdown, 40 receiving yards, and 1 touchdown, and 24 fantasy points. Mark Lynch's second time atop of RB leaderboard in 3 weeks. He's 11 fantasy points in the first 3 games. Very consistent. Everybody's forgetting about Lynch's subpar preseason. He had a game-winning touchdown. The next running back had a monster game in Rashad James for the New York Giants. He had 176 yards and 1 touchdown and 23 fantasy points. He had 34 carries. For the injury pro running back, that is a workload. He's been productive this year as a starter for the New York Football Giants. He had a monster day with a 5.2 yards per carry. Remarkable. Next game, he plays Washington Thursday night. Washington shut out LaShawn McCoy, shifty running back, but you can't sit Jennings. Now we're going to the best wide receivers of week 3. Julio Jones on Thursday Night Football, 161 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 28 points. With Walter White injured, he was the #1 wide receiver in Tampa Bay. Being Tampa Bay, he just lit him up. Could have done more, but taking out when the score was 42-0. Top 5 wide receiver when healthy. Next game against Minnesota Vikings, start him the confidence. Next guy is Jeremy Maclin against the Washington Redskins. Had 154 yards and 1 touchdown and 21 points. Best receiving weapon on a team that scores a lot of points and runs a lot of plays. He's fantasy gold. Through 3 games, Maclin has put up 46 points. He's very consistent. Next game is the 49ers. He's a must start. Our third wide receiver that had a great week is Antonio Brown. Mr. Consistency, as I like to call him. He had 90 yards and 2 touchdowns, 21 points, consistent every week. Next game against the Bucs, he should put up great numbers. 41-year-old Adam Vinatieri. He had 3 for 3 field goals, 5 for 5 extra points, and 16 points. And he hasn't missed a field goal all season. He's been very consistent. The best defense was the Atlanta Falcons. 14 points allowed, 1 interception, 4 fumbles recovered, 2 touchdowns, and 3 sacks. Atlanta rolled over the Bucs and they had 28 points. They forced the running backs with 2 fumbles and forced 5 turnovers. One of the most dominant defensive performances I have seen in a while. Next on Fantasy Zone, we're going to the fantasy disappointments of week 3. Matthew Stafford for the Detroit Lions struggled against Green Bay's defense. Even though Green Bay's defense had given up a lot of points, shut Stafford down. He had 246 yards, 2 INTs, 1 fumble loss, and only had 3 points. This next game, the Lions take on the Jets. Hopefully Stafford can bounce back. Now we're going to the running back. Frank Gore and Eddie Lacy didn't have good games. Frank Gore only had 10 rush yards and that equaled to 1 fantasy point. Eddie Lacy had 36 rush yards, 1 fumble. That also equaled to 1 fantasy. Through 3 games, Lacy only has 150 yards, but I believe Lacy will bounce back versus the Bears and value your first round pick. For Frank Gore, Kaepernick had 13 carries. Gore was shut out of the total offense. 49ers play Eagles. He should get more touches. Now we're going to the wide receiver. Keenan Allen only had 1 point with 17 yards. 119 yards through 3 games. Terrible numbers for last year's best rookie wide receiver. Hasn't reached his fantasy draft value. Chargers host Jaguars next week. Should bounce back. You saw it with the Colts. Fantasy disappointment. Dennis Pitta. 12 yards and 1 point. He left game with a hip dislocation. He missed last season with similar injury. Now he's going to miss the whole season. Terrible news for the Ravens. Terrible news if you own Dennis Pitta. We hope for him to have a fast and speedy recovery. And the worst defense of the week, yes, you guys guessed it, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Gave up 44 points and got -7 fantasy points. I doubt anybody has a Jaguars defense on their team. They are just terrible and let Luck and Colts go wild on Sunday. Alright, that's all I got for Fantasy Zone. Like, comment, subscribe.